some notable names, Big Tones, playing in the championship this season. We got Patrick Agyemang, who is going to Derby. Okay, you got George Campbell and Daryl Dike going to be at West Brom. Damian Downs is at Southampton. Josh Sargent currently at Norwich. Will he stay there? Transfer window still open for a while. Aidan Morris at Middlesbrough. Caleb Wiley, curious to see how he does at Watford. And Charlie Kellman is a great story. He is going to be at Charlton. So lots of good storylines here. I don't know where you want to start with any of these one particular players. You want to talk about the league overall, Big Tones? Just to get into it, maybe I should let me set the stage. Let me set the stage here. This is kind of the fun facts you need to know about the championship. So last year you had Burnley, Leeds, and Sunderland that all got promoted. Relegated from the Premier League last year, Ipswich, Leicester City, and Southampton. They're all coming down and obviously trying to all hopefully get right back up. Promoted from League One into the championship, you had Birmingham City. One of their more famous owners, Tom Brady, is hoping that they can get it right up, take one step into the Premier League. Charlton Athletic, who beat Leyton Orient in the Leg 1 playoffs. And so they've got their work cut out for them. And then Wrexham is obviously the big story as well with Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney. So
Rob
really
Mack
good.
now, Jimmy.
Rob Mack, sorry.
Yeah,
sorry.
No more McElhaney, right?
Yeah, Rob Mack. So this is going to be an interesting season for a lot of reasons. You have the Hollywood storylines. You got Tom Brady, you got Ryan Reynolds and Rob Mack. You got all that going on. You got the ones that are dropping down, which they say, you have that parachute payment when you get relegated. You have a little bit more of a influx of cash than most of the other teams. And then for us, we have a lot of Americans participating in this, especially in a very key area of the roster in terms of the number 9 spot. Woo! I don't know where you want to go but I'm going to follow your lead, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah, let's start maybe with West Brom, right? A team that last year had high aspirations of getting at least into the playoffs. Didn't work out. Daryl Dike there comes back finally. Now has an injury again. George Campbell makes the move from CF Montreal. We saw him in January against Venezuela, right?
Yeah.
In that game. I just got a message this morning for a buddy of mine, oddly enough, that lives in Maine, that writes for West Brom. To figure out that connection, right?
I'm trying.
But he said he texted me a picture of George Campbell today and said GC has made a really promising start at the Albion, expecting very good things. This is a guy with a lot of soccer knowledge that watches like literally every step every player makes. So he's made a good impression. We had him on Morning Footy this week. Seems to be enjoying his time there. Seems to be settling in really, really well. He's going to be an interesting follow because if you think about him, and I don't know what people thought about him with the U.S. men's national team, but if you think about him as a player, his body type, the way he plays, everything fits the championship. He's got the qualities that could make him a good center back in the championship. No doubt things to learn, things to improve on, like all of them do. But I think this is going to be a really, really interesting move to see how he settles in here. And you're obviously the resident center back. I'm just curious what his style of play looks like. And again, you mentioned it. We're going to cover it every week. So we're going to get a real up-close look at this.
Yeah, you know what? There's parts of George Campbell's game that I like. You're right. In terms of the player profile, and he's going to have the size. So that's right. There's 4 areas of development that we look at when we're evaluating players, or I guess it's evaluating players in general. You have technical, tactical, physical, and then mental, emotional. From the mental, emotional side, he seems steady. You can see that he's made growth. He's going now into a league and into a situation where he's going to have thicker skin, where mistakes I think are going to be more amplified. And he's made a few mistakes. There were moments where he looked a little uncertain in that U.S. game when he made his debut in January, where you maybe wanted him to be a little bit more decisive. And I'm not saying with the ball. It's also being decisive in your movements and how you're killing a play, or how you're covering space, and how you're communicating, your presence on the field. So those are areas where I think he's got plenty of room to grow. And I think this experience will be very good for him in that capacity, taking on more responsibility. The stakes are going to feel a little bit higher than maybe they do in Montreal. And so all that's going to help him on the mental, emotional side. Physically, I think he's going to be able to cope quite well. tactically, right? Every coach is going to be a little bit different. He's getting a first-year coach in Ryan Mason, who probably most notably is known as the one that always fills in for the interim coaches at Spurs. And so this is his first real head coaching experience. So I'm curious how that is going to play into how they want to play and how George Campbell fits into that. And then technically, he's just going to have to get cleaner with his decision making. I said it with Patrick Agyemang when he was referencing Thierry Henry and Didier Drogba. When your plan A isn't on, how quickly can you find your plan B? And it's not always on the ball carrier, the person with it. It's also how you're being supported. And if you or if your teammate can get in a good position for a plan B option, can you see that quick enough? And if you can't, then you're going to be scrambling a little bit, right? So I want to make sure that we're seeing him not being any moments where he feels like he's scrambling, which I've seen a little bit of in his game. But ultimately, yeah, I think this is a positive step in his career, and I'm excited to see what he does. But ultimately, I've got high hopes. You know, we've seen some of our ones. Austin Trust is a good example too, who parlayed a good solid run or good solid experience in the championship and went to Celtic, and obviously has proven to be someone they trust there. Pardon the play on words. But yeah, I'm excited. And then Daryl Dike, if we're going to keep it here on West Brom, Daryl Dike needs to stay healthy, and very similar to what Patrick was saying. I assume he's going to say similar things. He wants to be a player that West Brom can trust, and a player that they can rely upon to score big goals when they need it. But he needs to stay healthy to make that happen. It's his talent is undeniable. It's just keeping him on the field. So those are my kind of thoughts overall about West Brom.
And they're going to be a team again. Well, from what I'm reading, I'm obviously doing my studying on West Brom. What I'm seeing and what I'm feeling is that they're in sort of the same position as they were last year.
Yeah,
a team that comes into the season. I'm looking up. Not that the odds mean anything to me, but I'm looking here. They're kind of sat and predicted, tied with a bunch of teams around eighth or ninth, which means you're battling for a playoff spot, right? In the end, and it's a team not that far removed from the Premier League. So they'll be an interesting follow. The other storyline that I think is important for so many reasons is Josh Sargent. You touched on it with Patrick. This is a guy from team of the year last year, had an incredible season. Didn't translate right in the national team in his time at the Nations League. But now it's been rumored to a whole bunch of places. I mean, he's currently at Norwich. We don't know if that's going to stay that way, if it's going to last, if he's going to go to the Premier League, is he going to go to the Bundesliga? Apparently, he turned down a deal to go to the Bundesliga. So there's all these things swirling around Josh Sargent. How does he follow up last year? And then, Jimmy, as we know, we've spoken about it so many times, there's this tricky part, right? When you're trying to get to the national team, and when you're trying to get to the national team in a World Cup year, when you make a move, like something can go wrong, right? And if like 2 or 3 months goes wrong and you don't get called in September, you don't get called in November or October or November, all of a sudden you're like, man, the team starts getting further and further away from you. And your chances start diminishing. So you got to be really careful with moves at this time of the year. If your concern is making a World Cup team, is Josh Sargent at the level that he played last year? If he continues to do that, is that enough for him to get called into a national team camp? Only Mauricio Pochettino really knows. We're kind of speculating, but he's got to play at that level or better, I think, to get back.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he was in with the Nations League, right? Didn't score in those games, and then didn't get called in. He's one of the few that Mauricio Pochettino said didn't get called in to the Gold Cup for footballing reasons. Yeah, that's as big of a red flag as you could get, Big Tones. But we have seen Josh. He's with Norwich right now. He's been captaining them during preseason and in some of their friendlies. So all the signs are healthy that if he stays, he's going to be someone that they trust. And he had 15 goals and 5 assists in the championship last year in 32 games. Really turned it on after he came back from injury at the start of the year and hit another level. So it is kind of surprising that he didn't get called into the Gold Cup. There might be other reasons outside of that, but those are the ones that we heard from Mauricio Pochettino. Norwich are about
Jimmy, when your manager says sporting reasons, for me that means you're not the footballer I'm looking for, right?
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
I know.
It's not as if we thought, oh, there wasn't like a category. Like Mauricio Pochettino said, sporting reasons, right? Like I'm not, and I will say this: with foreign managers all around the world, we see all the time. There could be something lost in translation, but when I personally hear sporting reasons, that means I don't like the way that you're playing, right? Or you're not my type of player. That's how I read it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm looking at their transfer news in terms of who came in and who left. They lost Borja Sainz, which I think is going to be a big loss for them. He was another player that made team of the season, even though they finished 13th last year. He got sold to Porto for $15.5 million. He was such an instrumental part to, I think, allowing Josh Sargent to have the space to finish some of those opportunities, because you had to pay so much attention to him. They lose Jonathan Rowe, who was playing left wing as well, and I know he was on loan to Marseille last year, but another name that could have helped Josh Sargent had he been back in the team. And they did sign one striker, it looks like, Matthias Kvistgarden from Brøndby for $9.5 million. So I'm curious to see how that kind of falls into the equation. But of course, if they think they're going to lose Josh Sargent, they obviously need to get other players in to make sure the quality doesn't drop off too much. Right now, Norwich are currently the 7th best to win the EFL Championship this year in terms of the bookies at plus 1,600. Given how they performed last year and given some of their losses and Sargent leaves, I don't know if that's good money. However, the value of them getting promoted is plus 450. So if you're into splashing a little cash, I don't know if Norwich is going to do it. I feel like the teams that get relegated, like Ipswich, Southampton, and Birmingham City, actually are the top 3 teams to top 3 favorites to win the league and also to get promoted. So yeah, this is going to be a really entertaining season, all things considered. So I'm excited to see how it goes. Okay, let's talk a little Coventry and Haji Wright, because they have Frank Lampard. Super Frank Lampard is in charge, and I thought he did a pretty good job with them, all things considered, last year. They're just a little bit short of what they needed. Do you think now, with the proper summer and really understanding who he has and some of the additions that they've made, that they've got a decent chance of maybe getting into the promotion conversation, Big Tones?
Yeah, I mean, that's the idea with Coventry, right? I think when he took over, I don't have it in front of me, I think it was like 16th or 17th in the table last year.
Yeah. And
he went on a really incredible run. And then there were a couple slip ups at the end of the season. I think it was the last 5 games, they had 2 wins in that period, but they were in a playoff position, right? And Haji Wright, although that game was, if you remember, the game was just a miserable game. Haji Wright hardly touched the ball, but what a solid season for Haji Wright. Again, another guy that sits sort of on the fringe, was part of the Gold Cup initially and then gets injured and has to go home, and we don't see him play. I think we would have seen a little bit from him in that Gold Cup, which not only would have helped the team, but maybe would have helped his stock. I'm guessing, Jimmy, that Haji Wright is a guy that in our next camp, when is it, September, we're going to see Haji Wright on that list, assuming that he's fully healthy and starting with his team. Has played in so many different ways. Started there as a right-sided player. Actually started in youth national teams as a right-sided player. Went there, made his name on the left side for a little bit. Has played as a number 9 straight up. So he does a couple of things. That versatility may help him in the end, be the deciding factor of him making a World Cup team or not making a World Cup team. But he needs to again put his foot on the pedal here a little bit in this season. Yeah.
So in terms of goals per minute, I think that Haji Wright's pretty good. He had 1,900 minutes. You're seeing that on the screen right now. 12 goals, and Josh Sargent had 15 goals in 2,500 minutes. So in terms of production, it's not too bad. And Josh Sargent, as a reminder, got named to the team of the season. So when Haji Wright's healthy, and I think positioned in a way, I like him almost as a second striker. When he's the out-and-out number 9, Big Tones, I don't know if he's as effective. When he can maybe run off the shoulder of somebody else, there just seems to be like he unlocks a little bit more of the opportunities for him. But he has led Coventry in goals the last 2 seasons. He had 12 in all competitions last year, 31 and 81 career appearances for the club overall. Yes, as a reminder, Coventry finished 5th, so they were in the promotion playoff, and they ended up losing to Sunderland. If everybody remembers that second leg where Sunderland scored on the last kick of the game on a corner kick that was heartbreaking for Coventry, who had plenty of chances to potentially not necessarily win it in leg 2 so much, but in leg 1 at home, I thought they could have maybe given themselves a better cushion and started leaving it pretty tight against Sunderland in leg 2. So hopefully the group learns from that and they can build off of that. But this is a big season for Frank Lampard in particular. We've seen some former England greats, Wayne Rooney, not be really good at managing. So we'll see if Frank Lampard can lead Coventry back to the Premier League, where they haven't been there in quite some time, even though they were one of the original members of the Premier League when it changed into that in 1992-93. All right, who else do we want to talk about? We've got plenty of players. We talked about, okay, let's get into Aidan Morris in Middlesbrough. They had Michael Carrick, who played for Manchester United for a long time, in charge, and they were good. They were there in the mix for a while and then dropped off, and then Michael Carrick ended up getting sacked. Aidan Morris played quite a bit. When he was healthy, he was playing. I felt like he was a first choice for Michael Carrick. Now he's got a new manager in charge, and so obviously there's going to be a bit of a transition. But he's come around to be a pretty reliable player, even though it doesn't seem like Mauricio Pochettino is going to lean on him anymore, Big Tones.
Yeah, with regards to the national team, I saw a clip of him a day or two ago. He certainly still has ambitions, but it seemed like his mission was trying to win the EFL Championship. They finished right in the middle of the pack, or actually a little bit higher than that. I think 10th last year. Rob Edwards comes in, with Michael Carrick being fired. So what does that look like for Aidan Morris? I don't think it's going to change his status. Remember, he had the injury last year, so missed a significant part of the season, but really has settled into being right in the middle of the field for Middlesbrough. So this is, again, an important season for him in his professional career. I don't know how this, with what we have in the midfield there, I don't know how this season is going to change his sort of trajectory when you're talking about 2026 World Cup. But for Aidan Morris's professional career at the club level, this is a really important season. If they're battling for, it's a team that, and just again, I'm reading the last couple of days about the championship because I'm covering it this year, and just going through Middlesbrough, there's an expectation that they'll be in the playoffs. Jimmy, you get in the playoff, you can end up in the Premier League, right? We know this. So this will be fun to watch Aidan Morris see his development.
Yeah, they ended up finishing in 10th last year, which I think was a disappointment because they had a pretty good team, and now they got Rob Edwards in charge. He was the one who magically got Luton Town, of all the clubs in England, promoted. Now Luton Town went from the Premier League and got relegated to the Championship, and they got relegated to League One. So they're in a different type of downward spiral. But Rob Edwards, not part of that, and now he's involved with Middlesbrough, and I think he could hopefully sprinkle a little bit of magic here. I agree with you. I think they should, given the talent that they have and maybe underperformed last year. Hopefully Aidan Morris is a big part of this revival to make sure they can be competitive moving forward. So there's a couple big questions here, and I guess it's all kind of related to our strikers. How many goals should we really expect from these guys? So what are we saying, Big Tones? I mean, what's success? I guess we should
for a total.
What's success? I mean, let's say is it 10 goals in all competitions, like double digits in goals for all of our guys? Is that realistic?
I don't know if you're a forward worth your weight. Like, you don't think about double digits. I know no one's ever going to tell you, hey, I'm going to score X amount of goals. Or some guys might. But, I mean, if you don't and again, this is not injured, being a regular player. Like, don't you think double digits is like your bare minimum if you're a goal scorer?
I'm with you. Yeah.
I would think so. And so in that league, they have 24 teams. So they got 46 games. Yeah, I mean, you're playing 46, one goal every 4 games. The top strikers in the world, right? It's about a goal every other game. Is that and better is where that's their starting point. So 10 goals has to be the bare minimum.
I think what's interesting too, and we didn't bring this up yet, but Damian Downs has been the most expensive signing for Southampton, and then you have Pat, who was on with us, Ajiman, who's also the most expensive signing this summer so far for Derby. There comes a lot of expectation, right? All of a sudden, the fan base is like, okay, we're getting excited about this guy. Now we need to see him perform, and so I feel like that needs to be added into the equation. Because it's not like they were free or they kind of just walked into the situation. You're just hopeful. there's expectation these guys are going to go out there and perform and help these teams get results, and playing under that type of pressure is going to be good for the guys. Of course, I think it's something they can thrive with, but it is an element that might feel a little bit different than anything they felt before in their careers, because this is serious business, especially when you're in the championship. And there's the fear of relegation, of course, to League One, but also the chance at promotion to the Premier League. So I'm excited. And there's one other player that we should touch upon because he's got an interesting story. His name's Charlie Kelman. Now, he was born in England, but he spent the majority of his youth in Texas. He's actually a huge FC Dallas fan. He wants to play for FC Dallas. Now, he was on the books at QPR. He's got 23 games overall for QPR in the championship. Never scored any goals. He's a center forward. But he got loaned out to Leyton Orient, and last year he won the League One Golden Boot. He got them to the playoff final at Wembley. They ended up losing to Charlton Athletic 1-0. Apparently he impressed so much that Charlton said, hey, we'll buy you off of him from QPR. Now he's going to be with Charlton in the championship. I've been reading a lot about him. I've watched some highlights. He's a fox in the box, and he's really put a lot of time into his game, and that guy seems like he's got that focus that you need to continue to grow and to build. I'm very curious about Charlie Kelman in particular, 23-year-old, played for the U18s and the U20s at the U.S. level, so he's not an unknown quantity for our player pool. But I wonder if he could parlay that into some more success, because he's done it at the League One level. He scored goals there.
Yeah.
Championship, though, he hasn't really taken it with both hands. And I wonder now, with the confidence of being the Golden Boot winner at League One, if he can take that next step.
You hope so. Keep in mind the 27 goals, that was an aberration, because if you go through the 9 years prior in his career, he had 20 goals total. And in 4 of those years as a forward, he didn't score a goal. So
he was saving it all for last season.
He said 24, 25 is my year. That's it. That's where I'm going to go gangbusters here, and I'm going to get my move. So, yeah, look, things change. He had 61 games at the club last season, so 27 goals, 6 assists. What a season he had. Hopefully for his sake he can parlay this, as you said, into something in the championship right now.
Yeah, it's another good story, right? Another really good story, and man, I'm excited for this championship, and I'm hopeful that these guys can go out there and play well. And of course, some of them are in the real part of the conversation to make the World Cup roster. And can they parlay good performances with their clubs into a roster spot come June 12th? I love the question you asked, Pat Big Tones. What are you doing?
I think we got to ask all of them from now, right? All those fringe guys, like, what's your plans June 12th? What are you doing? Where are you going to be hanging out? That's it.
Yeah, and he had a great answer. I'm going to be getting ready for the game, and I love that. Look at you getting to the end of the video. All right, very proud of you. Now, if you want more average to good content, this is your channel. Go look at other videos, playlists. We have it all figured out. For more of the good stuff, then you got to make sure you hit like on this video, hit subscribe so you don't miss anything, and then turn on your notifications so you know when we're going live or if anything drops right when it comes out. We'd really appreciate it. See you next time.